Welcome to the Private Practice Startup, where we inspire you from startup to mastery. We chat with entrepreneurs, experts in the mental health and business arenas, and successful private practitioners to give you the tools needed to make your dream practice a reality. Visit theprivatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, free trainings, and so much more. Here are your hosts, Dr. Kate Campbell and Katie Lemieux.
Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of the Private Practice Startup. I am one of your hosts, Katie Lemieux, and I am here with my business partner.
What's up, Startup Nation? I'm Dr. Kate Campbell.
And we are really excited about this show because we are actually doing something fresh, new, and innovative. So Kate and I we love doing live trainings. And one of the things that really sets us apart from others is we really create experiences for people to have inside of our training. So it's a 5-sense experience when they come with us. And we said, we got to figure out a way to do this with the podcast. So here's the first introduction of that. But before we get all to that, I just wanted to welcome you back. If you are already part of Startup Nation audience, we wanted to thank you for being such a loyal listener, and we really enjoy having you. But if you're brand new, we want to welcome you too. And we have a little gift for you, which is our A to Z cheat sheet. You can go over to the privatepracticestartup.com, head over to the resources tab, and you can download your A to Z cheat sheet, Essentials for Building and Growing Your Dream Practice. There's a lot more other resources there, so if you want some, go ahead and grab it. But more importantly, it would be cool to hang out with you guys. And we want to invite you to our Facebook group. Just head over to Facebook, look for the Private Practice Startup Facebook group, ask to join us, and there you can actually interact directly with Kate and I, as well as our community of over 1,000 people at this moment. We're growing day by day, and it's just a really cool place to hang out because 2 heads, 10 heads, 25 plus 1,000 heads are better than one.
Across the globe, yes, totally.
So we are back with Laura Long, and our last podcast we did with her was called The 5 Secrets of a Badass Directory Profile. And today our topic is the 5 Secrets of a Badass Directory Profile in Action. And we actually have 2 therapists. We had initially done a contest, and we have Meri and we also have Allison Brown. And so what Laura is going to be doing is she's actually going to show you, she's going to show the ladies, but because we're in audio, you guys are going to listen to how she actually applies the formula to the Psychology Today profiles. So you're going to get that direct hand experience and probably will help you all apply it better to your own. All right. So we are going to start off with Meri. Hello, Meri. Say hi to our audience, Startup Nation.
Hello.
We are glad you're here too. And we just wanted to thank the both of you for being courageous, because I know this can be totally anxiety provoking, but we know that you're going to get a lot of great benefit out of it. And we appreciate you doing this because this is also going to benefit Startup Nation. So Meri, where are you from and what's your practice name?
I am currently living in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas, and my practice name is M.E.R. Counseling and Assessments, PLLC.
Got it. Awesome. Well, we are going to kind of hand the reins over now to you and Laura, and we're probably just going to pipe in and, say some ninja tips and stuff like that where appropriate. But we're eager to listen as well. So Laura, you're on.
Woohoo! Hi, Meri. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am doing so well. This was really just, first of all, very courageous of you, because I know if I were putting myself out into the world like this, I'd be pretty nervous. So I think it shows that you really, really care about wanting to have your Psychology Today profiles resonate with your audience. And I think that is truly badass. So congrats.
Thank you. I like to be badass.
All right. So first, before we begin, I did have 3 really quick questions for you, and this will help me better give you feedback. So number 1, I want to know, do you have any sort of niche specialty area, or are there certain types of populations that you feel like you serve the best?
That's a good question, because I'm still working on that. Although I know that I have some strengths working with people going through grief and trauma, and also working with relationships. I didn't even know I was good at that until recently.
Isn't that funny? We just kind of things come into our lap, and all of a sudden we realize, wow, we're kind of good at this. We should keep doing more of it. All right. So grief and trauma, and then also helping people with relationships. That's something that you're kind of making sure that you are speaking to your audience. So we'll get into that in a moment, but I wanted to ask that. And then number 2, what do you think about your profile? I'm going to be asking Allison this as well, but what are your thoughts? Have you checked it out recently, and what do you think is working or not working? Your overall feedback of your own profile.
I might have to put you on mute. Okay, when my dog barks, I'm going to put you on mute so it doesn't interrupt. I'm sorry. I'm working from home today. I think that my profile needs some work just because I created it when I was in my master level program, and my supervisor, my FCS, also helped me with that. So yeah, it needs some work, definitely.
Okay. When do you think was the last time you updated it?
Well, I updated not the introductory profile for myself, but my insurance plans were updated just a week ago.
Okay. But as far as the actual copy, or we call it copy, it's the content. But when do you think that you last rewrote that?
I during my master level program.
How long ago?
That was like 5 years ago.
Oh, okay. All right. So it definitely could use some tweaking then, huh?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's get right into it. So I'm going to check out your profile as we are talking. I'm on the spot here. So let me point out just a couple of things that I think are good. So when you just said that your niche or your specialization are grief, trauma, and relationships, I see that that's clearly articulated on the right side of your profile under specialties. You put anxiety, coping skills, and grief. So you have the grief there. I would like to see maybe if your specialties you're finding are more relationships or trauma-based, maybe your specialties, instead of being anxiety, coping skills, and grief, maybe it could be grief, relationships, and trauma, right? So you could be a little bit more specific there. Let's see. I like the fact that in your last paragraph, you do talk a little bit about what makes you different from other people. So you talk about the fact that you are caring, empathic, supportive, those sorts of things. They do set you apart. It kind of gives the reader a little bit of an understanding of your style. So those are some things that I thought were really good. And the fact that you do in fact have a website. So a lot of therapists, they have a Psychology Today profile, but that's their only form of marketing. They don't even have a website. So the fact that you do have one that a reader can click to. So if someone's reading your profile, what you're saying resonates with them, they have the ability to learn even more about you through that website. So those are some good things that I noticed. Any questions so far just about that?
No, thank you for that insight, though. It's always nice to hear the good stuff first.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. And we can all improve, you know what I mean? So, all right. So now what I want to talk about, and I'm just going through the formula that I shared with Kate and Katie last week. So part of my my formula, I have a certain formula that I use for each paragraph. So I'm looking at your first paragraph, and you may not know this off the top of your head, but the very first sentence is actually the most important. Really, the first 1 to 2 sentences, that's the only thing that your readers or your potential clients have access to when they're first on Psychology Today. So they don't even have the ability to read your whole profile all at once. So what I would encourage you to do is really think hard. So the grief and trauma folks, the people who are struggling in their relationships, if you can even tailor that, even be more specific with who it is that you're talking to, you could then have your first 1 to 2 sentences speak directly to their pain points instead of being broad or generalized. So I noticed that your first sentence is a question. It's, does life seem overwhelming to you at times? Do you need direction and hope? Now, I think that those are great questions to ask. What I'll also notice is that they really apply to everybody, right? All of us at times, we feel overwhelmed. All of us feel like at times we need direction and hope. So what I would encourage you to do, Meri, is in those first 2 sentences, and this might take some time of reflection on your own, but really thinking, okay, so someone who's struggling with PTSD, or maybe they have a traumatic loss, or just grief in general, what is it that they are really struggling with right now that would lead them to read that first sentence and go, oh my gosh, I have to click further. I need to learn more about this person. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense, and I appreciate your insight in this.
Yeah. So that first paragraph there, I like the way that you're telling them about, counseling is one way to sift through daily challenges, help you grow in all areas of life. What I would encourage you to do, again, going through that theme of what is the person who's visiting your site, what are their true pain points? So you might not be able to answer that right now on the spot, but it's just something to think about as you're trying to improve your Psychology Today profile. How can you make that first paragraph really speak just to them? So almost as if you are sitting with them, looking at them, and you are talking directly to that person. What things are going on for them? And how can you really illustrate to them that you get it? Okay. another thing that I wanted to notice is I think your picture is actually, it's pretty good. It shows your face, which is good. Some profiles don't even have a picture of the clinician. So I think that's good. I would encourage you, it doesn't have to be necessarily a picture taken by a professional photographer, but I would encourage you to take a picture of yourself that maybe is a little bit more clear and definitely showcases your personality. So someone who is dealing with grief or trauma or loss, they want to see someone who maybe has that warm side, that supportive, caring, compassionate side. So I would encourage you to consider maybe changing your profile picture to something that you feel like really shows off who you are. Maybe it's taken in a different lighting or something that's outside, or even if you can afford to, taken by a professional. I think that would make it really shine so that it'll set you apart from the other profiles.
Thank you for saying that. Although I just had somebody call me recently saying, I picked your profile because of your picture. I'm like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, well, in your picture, like I said, it's not bad.
It's kind of old. It's like at least almost 8 years old maybe. And that's a good picture I had. So that's why it's on there. So yes, I agree that I do need to upload it.
Yeah. Well, and again, I just want to highlight, it's not a bad picture at all. The only thing is that it's just slightly grainy. And so I want it to be more clear, more crystal clear. But I can tell in your face in that picture that you really are a warm, caring person. And so if I were dealing with trauma, if I were dealing with grief, I would see your face and go, okay, she looks warm. So the picture in and of itself, it's not bad. I just know, I'm thinking badass here. What would be badass? And I think what would be badass is if you could find a picture that's either a little bit more crystal clear or even taken by a professional. But again, your picture is not bad. I've seen some pretty bad ones. Yours is not that.
And I noticed, Meri, and I'll just interject as you smile. You do. I watch you smile, and it is a very soft, caring, warm face. And so I agree with Laura's. How can we just kind of step that up and just make it super badass, where someone just is completely captivated and said, "I got to check out more about that lady."
Yeah. Well, you have the benefit of being photogenic, because I'm looking at your picture and I can tell, even though it was taken maybe by yourself or someone else, you are photogenic. That's a very positive thing. So use that to your advantage.
Thank you. I will.
Okay. So that second paragraph, I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So the second paragraph, as far as my formula goes, is really painting for your reader their dream scenario. What is it that they're hoping that therapy will help them to achieve? And so when I'm reading your second paragraph, you talk a lot about your experience or what types of treatment you use, your treatment modality, your focus. And although I think that's amazing as a therapist, I'm reading that and I totally understand CBT, positive psychology, family systems, solution-focused therapy. I'm very familiar with those. What I would say, though, is that your readers or your potential clients, they're not as familiar with what those words mean. And so it might not actually connect with them. They want to read that you get it, you understand it, and you are the right therapist for them. So I would recommend that for that second paragraph, you really just take those 50 characters and focus exactly on what is it that this grieving person hopes therapy will help them with, and use their own words. What is it that someone may be dealing with trauma? What is it that they are hoping to achieve? And use that whole second paragraph just for that. Does that make sense to you, Meri?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Again, this was when I was a student, so I was focusing more on what my talents were at that time.
Yeah.
I do appreciate your input, and I definitely will rewrite that so it's more geared toward the patient, the client.
Right. Well, and again, I've reviewed hundreds of profiles at this point. And so, and my formula is strictly mine, so it's not that anything you're writing is wrong or incorrect. And in fact, as a therapist reading your profile, I'm very impressed by what you're able to do and the fact that you are so proficient in all of these different treatment modalities. So if I were just coming out of school like you were when you wrote this, I literally would have written the same thing. You live and breathe all of these treatment modalities. And so you want to showcase when you're graduating and entering private practice, you want to showcase, hey, look, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm talking about. So it makes perfect sense why you chose to do it that way. I'm just saying that moving forward, I think it'd be awesome if you could say, hey, I know exactly who you are and what your pain points are. And this is what I know you want out of therapy. This is how you're hoping I can help you.
Your Psych Today profile is really like your brand, because it's going to evolve over time, and it may get more niche based over time. It may expand over time. You may find that your passions change. And so it's good to constantly review that and refresh it. And it's so useful to have your formula here, Laura.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm so glad you guys brought that up, because when it comes to Psychology Today profiles, now I have fun with them because I enjoy writing copy, but I don't want people to think that, okay, once I write this thing and I use Laura's special secret sauce formula, that I'm done. I think that you can always have fun with it, tweak it. Maybe I kind of test my copy. So I'll write a Psychology Today profile, and then I'll take a screenshot of what I wrote. And then maybe 3 weeks, probably closer to 6 weeks after that, if I'm feeling led to, I'll change it. I'll change the wording, maybe use some different words, different phrases that I've heard my clients say, and I'll see how that goes. So don't feel like you're married to it once you revise it. You can always change it if that's something you want to do.
And make sure when you make the changes to have them documented, because if you find one that really works well and you change it, I've lived this, I made the mistake myself, I didn't have it written down and I lost it forever. And I've constantly been trying to get back to that place.
All right. And then that last paragraph. So as far as my formula goes, the last paragraph the theme at least should say something like this. If you don't already know I'm the best therapist for you based on those other 2 paragraphs, here are a few things that set me apart from everybody else, followed by a call to action to schedule through your website. So the thing that you did really well is you actually started there. You said, my approach is caring, empathic, supportive, and non-judgmental. I want you to take it even a step further. So someone who's dealing with grief or trauma, they obviously want that, right? They want someone who's supportive, non-judgmental, caring. But I want to know what makes you, Meri, different from the other therapist that's below you on Psychology Today. Is there, and you don't have to answer this right now, but just think about it. Is there a special service that you are able to provide? Are your hours maybe different than other people's? Is your office location centrally located? Anything that you do that makes Meri unique to Meri, because people who are seeking you for therapy, they're not just coming to you because you do grief therapy or because you help them with their PTSD. They want to see you specifically. So just showcase a little bit in that last paragraph, the little space that you have. Talk a little bit about what makes you different from everybody else. Does that make sense to you, Meri?
Yes, it makes total sense to me. And I didn't know how much detail I should put in there because I also do AccuDetox, auricular acupuncture, and I didn't know if I should put that in there.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a really interesting specialty, Meri, is, so someone's looking for a holistic, and so maybe they look at the grief process or the trauma process, and they're totally against medication, right? Like, even are you dealing with whatever issues they're dealing with, and against medication? Are you looking for a therapist who does holistic and combines the both? And that does set you outside. I mean, that was a little wordy. It would take me some time to kind of work on it with you and really create the copy. But I think that's what Laura is saying. And that's huge. And I can't tell you just this week, I can't tell you how many times, as proper therapist protocol, we go through the, well, what about seeing a psychiatrist? Even though that's not my beliefs totally. And a lot of my clients will say, I'm totally against it. And to be able to offer them holistic types treatments that's more in alignment to their beliefs and philosophies is amazing.
Yeah, the fact that you offer those services, I mean, I would have had no idea. Maybe if it's on your website, which I didn't review. So if it's on your website, that's great. But I wouldn't have had any clue that you offer that. So maybe that's something that you could even showcase in your Psychology Today profile towards the bottom. So basically saying, now, you're not literally saying, if you don't already know I'm the best therapist for you, here's something else I do. That's just something that should be running in the back of your mind as you're creating the copy for this last paragraph. So you might even say, I have the ability to provide these acupuncture services, something that sets you apart from everybody else. And then finally, with that call to action, I would love to speak more with you. So click to my website or schedule your free consultation today. And then the final thing that I would encourage you to do is Psychology Today actually offers you the ability to create some additional pictures towards the bottom. So you can use that for pictures of your office, pictures of your building. And so if you feel like you do have a pretty office, then I would want you to showcase that there. So it doesn't have to be professional or anything like that as long as the lighting is good. But if you would want to, you could take pictures of your office, and that will help other people who are reading your profile really connect with you and say, oh, okay, I like to see what I'm walking into before I literally walk there. So if they can see, okay, I like that office, that might even further drive them to either go to your website or call you directly from your profile.
Or even a picture like showing an image of acupuncture. And a lot of things that we do in our marketing is you'll have an image and then you'll have some words, right? Like how does acupuncture help your grief? And then there's an image, right? And that might make someone go, oh, that's interesting. Like, I want to know more. And then maybe they'll go back and read your profile a little bit more in depth. So I think there's a lot of stuff that you can definitely do. And Laura give you some really cool ideas. So as we wrap up this profile review, Meri, we always like to ask, what's one step that you're going to be taking after our call today?
Well, I'm going to be rewriting the whole thing, actually. I'm going to be rewriting my profile on Psychology Today, but I'm also going to update my picture. I know that's an old picture, and I am going to add my holistic approach too, just because it is unique. The only reason why I took it out is because I'm going to school to be a psychologist, and some of my colleagues were like, don't put that on there. You sound like a wacky person if you put acupuncture on there. So that's the one reason why I took it off. But
there are people who are looking for exactly what you offer, and that's the people you want to work with. I mean, if that's what you're aligned to and you're very passionate about that for yourself.
Actually, I am. So, yeah.
Yeah. And if that's something that you are very passionate about and you put that on there, it's very possible that someone reading that might not resonate with them, but that's okay, because Meri, that wasn't your person to begin with. So you want the people who are reading your profile. And again, they're not just wanting grief therapy. They want grief therapy from you. So so if acupuncture is something that you feel very strongly about and you feel very competent and you want to be able to offer that to your clients, I would absolutely share that in your profile. Don't listen to those other people.
Okay, I won't. Thank you. I want to be badass. That's why.
And the last
and as we're talking about these badass the directory profiles, we've really been thinking about how this aligns with the branding process. And, as you're developing your brand and you're developing your profile, you want to make sure they're in alignment. So we have a couple of resources for you to look into as well, just to gain more clarity on your brand, because they're both going to complement each other. So the first one is a brand values assessment. You can actually head over to our website at the Private Practice Startup to the resources tab and download the brand values assessment. And then we also have several podcasts about branding. We have podcast number 9 with Claudia Zabriskie. We also have number 13 with Michelle Villalobos. And we have number 19 with Alexandra Figueredo. And number 3, we have a couple of online courses. We've got the 4 Secrets to Building Your Dream Private Practice, which really gets into the branding, the vision, mission, culture, which can be very helpful to get clear on that. And then also we have a branding one.
Building a brand that captivates with Claudia. And that was a really awesome one. My favorite line out of that, and I always say that, is she asks, if your brand walks into a cocktail party, what will people say? Right? And that, Laura, you can totally steal that for your Psychology Today. Badass profile. Questions, right? And so what's that first thing, when people come to your profile, what are they saying about that? Oh, this is so cool. These colors are so vibrant. This lady's really different. Or, oh my God, I look at this profile and I just feel at peace. I could just look at this all day. So, really setting that yourself aside. And so, Meri, we really wanted to thank you again for being courageous and really just taking a stab at this. And we really hope that your profile brings in your ideal clients and really just, rejuvenates you and helps your clients be passionate about working with you. And we wanted to obviously thank Laura for going through your profile with you. So thanks so much, Meri. We appreciate it.
Yes.
I appreciate you. Thank you, ladies.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
So while we're transitioning from Meri to Allison, let's just take a short break for our sponsor.
Developing and growing a practice can be a huge undertaking between maintaining schedules, organizing client records, submitting insurance claims, and running your own practice. It can be overwhelming. You work hard and deserve to get paid well. Having an electronic medical record, which is a secure and streamlined practice management system like Therapy Notes, you'll have more time to spend with what matters most, your clients. Therapy Notes integrates all aspects of your workflow to help you provide your clients with the best care they deserve and making your life a whole lot easier. From easy-to-use templates to simple electronic claim submission, Therapy Notes has everything you need to maintain client records, schedule appointments, and bill insurance right at your fingertips. Therapy Notes is trusted by over 25,000 clinicians just like you. The best part? Visit therapynotes.com and enter promo code PPS17. That's PPS17, as in Private Practice System 17. And you'll get a 30-day trial and your first year for 10% off. Don't forget to enter that code PPS17. You want to know more about the benefits of Therapy Notes? Join us on a podcast, episode 54 of the Private Practice Startup, where we chat with the owner and creator of Therapy Notes, Brad Pliner.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. We are switching from Meri to Allison Brown. And Allison is our second winner of the contest that we ran for Laura to revert her profile. So we're super excited to have her. And again, thank you for your being courageous of doing this. And I think you said you were listening to Meri's profile review, and now Laura is going to walk you through yours.
Great. Cannot wait.
Hi, Allison. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. Okay, so same 3 questions that I had for Meri. I'm going to quickly just ask you so that I can tailor my review and my suggestions to you accordingly. So number 1, who would you consider to be your niche, your target market, or the people that you work best with?
My ideal client is adolescent and families and their families, and then postpartum.
Okay.
Depression, panic, and anxiety for both.
Okay. Are you referring specifically to postpartum depression, anxiety, and panic, or postpartum depression, anxiety, panic?
Or
all of the above?
Good question. I guess postpartum anxiety, panic, and depression. I mean, I have clients that are kind of all over the board, but that would be my ideal.
Okay.
Postpartum and adolescent.
Okay. And so, let me ask the other 2 questions and then I'll jump right in. So what do you think? Do you have your profile up or have you looked at it recently? You don't have to have it up. That's okay.
No and no. I try. It's like, it kind of makes me cringe. So I don't really read it a lot.
Tell me more about that if you don't mind. What is it about just the idea of going on your Psychology Today profile or messing with it? What is it that makes you cringe?
Well, I think the whole self-promotion, marketing myself, talking about myself isn't super easy. Not very comfortable doing that. So reading it, it's like, oh, did that sound? So this is very exciting to get a sort of third party to give me some suggestions, but I don't tweak it very often.
Yeah, I was telling someone earlier actually about how therapists have a really hard time with marketing sometimes because we equate marketing with things like being salesy or slimy, and we're also very sensitive to that. So if someone is selling me something, I can sniff it out from a mile away. And so then when it comes to things like our Psychology Today profiles, where we are literally being asked to sell ourselves, it can be really uncomfortable. And that makes perfect sense why you're like, okay, just the idea of going there makes me want to cringe.
Pretty much.
And I have to say is, one of the things though, as being therapists, is our skills are completely transferable. And actually a lot of what they do in sales and marketing is what we do as therapists. I think it's just reframing that and making that mind shift that makes us feel more comfortable.
Right.
And just to piggyback off of what Katie was just saying, we also have to remember, myself included, that when someone is either going to your website or when they're going to your Psychology Today profile, they are literally someone who is looking for you. They're looking for your services. So it's not like you're knocking down on their door and trying to convince them why they need therapy when maybe they don't. These are people who are literally struggling so badly that they are seeking you out. So it's in their best interests that you are selling yourself in a way that you are connecting with them. So that's really what, instead of thinking it as being like, I got to be salesy or I got to be slimy or manipulative, it's nothing like that at all. It's you being your, do we have a cowbell, guys? Authentic.
Hang on. Go ahead.
It's about you being your authentic self. Authentic self. And that is what, kind of like what I was saying to Meri, when people are going on your Psychology Today profile, they aren't just looking for therapy. They're looking for therapy with you. And so you need to make it very clear, just like everybody else, we all need to make our brand very clear. Who is it that we are? What makes us different? Who are we serving? So maybe that's a helpful mindset shift that you can utilize as you're going through this. It's not so much about being salesy or cocky or anything like that. It's you literally saying, I've got all this and I want to help you. So these are the problems I know you're having. And look, sister, I got you. I can help you. That's what you're saying, at least to that postpartum mom. Okay. So let's jump right on in. I know you haven't quite updated it in a while, but based on what you remember, at least, what do you think about your profile? Do you think that there are certain parts of it that are good, not good? I kind of want to get your own feedback of your profile before I jump in.
Here, let me, I'll pull it up.
Sure. And I can start if you'd like.
Yeah, why don't I like it enough that I put it on the internet. So I mean, it's not I don't think it's that terrible, but at the same time, I just think it could be It's like editing your own manuscript. Like you can't do it, like it's hard to be objective, I guess.
Yeah. I think a lot of people struggle with that. Like being able to take a step back and read it as if you're the client or the potential client. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I think that's always an important key factor. And another ninja tip is whether we're writing website stuff or stuff on our profile is give it to trusted people who are going to give you good feedback, who are not in our industry.
Right. That's
if they say, what the heck does that mean? Or what is this E.M.D.R.? What is that stuff? Right. I think that's really essential because they're going to give you the best feedback because they don't really know our industry.
Right. Good point.
Right. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump right on in, Allison.
Okay.
And then at any point you just respond accordingly. So what I do want to notice first and foremost is I see that your picture, it does appear to be maybe professionally taken or maybe just taken by somebody else with a real camera or at least a really good smartphone. So that's a really positive thing. I really like your picture. You come across as very warm, very caring. You're photogenic, similar to Meri. So you guys both have that going on. So I do like your picture.
Okay, good.
I wouldn't even necessarily change it. And because I have the benefit of literally seeing you as I'm talking, it also seems to me like the picture was taken somewhat recently, not 20 years ago. So I wouldn't even necessarily change your picture unless you have a problem with it or you feel like maybe it doesn't showcase your personality the way you would like it to.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. We always start with the great, right? I also like that you do have a picture of your office there.
Do you?
I was giving that feedback to Meri earlier, that could be an added thing she could do. I do like that you have a picture of your office. And in fact, your office does look warm. It looks cozy. I would even encourage you to add more pictures.
Okay.
Maybe different angles. If you're going to already have pictures of your office, I want to know a little bit more about what it looks like. Kind of like a virtual tour.
Right. More than just like one little
Just a thought, Allison, do you have anything in your office, whether it's a little figurine or something like that, that symbolizes your ideal clients? Like, do you have a figurine of a pregnant woman or something like that? So I think when we think of images, it's also cool to pick out key factors that resonate with people, if that happens to be in your office, or just some food for thought.
I'm looking around. Good point.
People sometimes have sayings, and maybe the saying is really raising children or parenting or, being a new parent or something like that. And so if that's part of your office or there's something in that, is include that in the picture.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. Okay. And so the advice I'm about to give you almost mirrors what I was talking to Meri during the beginning of our conversation. But it's really important for you to know that when people are browsing Psychology Today, they only have access to the first 1 to 2 sentences instead of access to your whole profile. So that's prime real estate right there. So the beginning of your profile, it's a question. It says, are things not going the way you thought they would or think they should? Are you or a loved one having trouble handling what life has thrown your way? That's probably the extent of what any visitor to Psychology Today has access to at first. And they, at that point, have to decide whether or not to click forward to your profile to read it in its entirety. So what I would suggest to you, knowing that your target market being a little bit more broad, you said adolescents and families, and then also women struggling with postpartum depression. I would encourage you to maybe step back and think, okay, so for my Psychology Today profile, if I try to appeal to adolescents, families, and women going through some sort of postpartum depression, anxiety, or OCD, it's going to be very difficult to actually cater to all 3 of their pain points without watering down my message. So even though you are more than welcome to work with all 3 populations, maybe picking one target market just for your Psychology Today profile. And then on your website, you can speak a little bit more to the other areas. But my fear, and this is not just you, this is many therapists who want to work with different populations. They try to speak to all of them in their Psychology Today profile. And ultimately, they don't actually speak to any one of them because they have to have a broader message. So that first question, are things not going the way you thought they would or think they should? I think that all of us can resonate with that sentence or that question. So what I would encourage you to do, Allison, is really consider what is the main driving pain point for perhaps the postpartum woman.
Okay.
Maybe she feels like she's supposed to be enjoying this time of her life. She's told that this is the happiest time of her life, yet here she is looking for a therapist and now she's feeling guilty. And now that's not my target market. So I could be completely off. I'm just
that's great. Yeah.
thinking out loud here. So that would be my thing to you, my advice to you. And also taking it further into that first paragraph. So that first paragraph, pick that person, think of maybe a client who you've done such amazing work with, this postpartum woman. What exactly were her pain points, and diving deep into that, not being afraid to risk being very specific.
Okay.
And questions in and of themselves are not bad. I don't think that starting your profile with a question is bad. I just want to make sure that if you are doing so, the question is so specific that they are reading that as they're perusing all of these other profiles. And once they see that, whether it's a question or a statement, they're going, yep, that's the person I need to go to.
Okay.
So yeah, first paragraph is just talking about them. Now the second paragraph, you talk a little bit more about what your practice, you focus on the challenges of adolescence, young adulthood, parenthood. Again, same advice. So if you are talking to that postpartum woman, what is her dream scenario? That's part of my, my 3-step formula or system for how to have that Badass Psychology Today profile. So that second paragraph, I want you to paint a picture there of this postpartum woman dealing with whether it is anxiety, depression, OCD. What is it that she's hoping therapy will really help her with? Maybe she wants to feel supported. Now, again, I don't know this. You would have to do your own market research with your clients. So what is it that they are hoping to get? Maybe it's just support. Maybe they want to know that they're not alone, that they don't have to travel this road alone, that they're not actually crazy, and that this part of their life can be extremely challenging and that you get it, right? So focusing just on what it is that their dream scenario or that they're hoping therapy will help them with. And then finally, your last paragraph where you talk about you're a licensed clinical social worker, how much experience that you have and who you've worked with in the past, your CBT approach, solution-focused, holistic, all of that stuff. As a therapist, I gave this similar feedback to Meri, but as a therapist, I know exactly what all of that means. As a potential client, I might get lost in the mix of those words, that psychobabble. So, cognitive behavioral solution focused, I might not truly understand what that means. And as a potential client, I'm thinking, well, isn't all therapy solution focused? Right? Because I just don't get it. So what I would do for that third paragraph is really focus on what makes you different, not so much in terms of your experience or your education or your background, but right now as the therapist you are, what is your brand? So maybe it's the type of therapy you do as far as I offer evening appointments, or I'm just trying to think off the top of my head here. Maybe
postpartum mom might want to know if you're coming home. That would
I was
be
just
really
thinking
important.
that. Yeah. Do you offer home visits? Do you offer phone sessions? Or, can they bring their babies? Something like that. So what is it that makes you different from the next therapist down the list? That part might be challenging for you because it is a little bit of that salesman coming out, right? But again, the people looking at your profile are people who already want this service. So that should make it even easier for you because you're not selling yourself to someone who's not interested in therapy. You're selling yourself to someone who is dying for it.
Right.
And so then your last sentence should be something where it's a call to action, inviting them to go to your website where they can learn a little bit more, schedule a free consultation if that's something that you offer, or just giving you a call. So so the last sentence is basically, if you don't already know I'm the right therapist for you, here are just a couple of things that set me apart. Maybe, for a postpartum mom, they want therapy to be as convenient as possible. They don't have time to be downloading your paperwork or filling it out in the office, coming early. Maybe it's something special that you are able to provide for them to make therapy easier, convenient, or just more attainable for them. So you're reporting that there. And then again, that call to action.
And I just thought of something for you, Allison. I thought of something like moms and babies welcome, or moms and crying babies welcome. I look forward to meeting you and your baby. So just letting them know, or if you do video counseling, like I look forward to seeing you and your baby. You know what I mean? Like, I think anything like that would be like, oh, cool. I can, because that is a question. It's like, oh, now I got to find childcare, and this is already a problem. And it's just like, oh, my baby's screaming. It has colic, and she's totally okay with that. Awesome.
Well, and in fact, Allison, you do point that out in the very last sentence where you say, we can relieve. So you say conquer your emotional distress. So for them, it might be a different wording instead of emotional distress. We can make you feel better, something as simple as that. But you say in my office or online via computer or smartphone. So you're already doing it. Maybe even moving that to the top. The fact that you make therapy so accessible to these moms who otherwise find that therapy is just unattainable for them. They're nursing, like they don't know that maybe that's a friendly environment. So that would be my advice to you, Allison. But otherwise, I feel like you've done a good job really speaking to that person and your specialty. You put pregnancy, prenatal, postpartum. That's great.
Okay. So just hone in on that one client. And instead of being, I agree that it's way too broad, but I also like working with different types of clients.
Absolutely. Okay. And I hear that all the time. That's not just you, Allison. So people will say like, I don't really want to niche down, especially on my Psych Today profile, because that's the first thing people see. And if they think that's all I work with, then I'm going to lose out on everyone else. I'm going to exclude everyone else. But in actuality, that's not true. It's counterintuitive. I will tell you that. But if you come across as a very competent clinician in this one area, then anyone reading that it's something about what you say and your confidence in what you do. They're going to say, wow, she really knows what she's talking about. So even if you are catering to that postpartum mom, and you don't have to literally say, I work with moms going through postpartum depression, right? It's just, if you're honing in on them in your copy, then you are speaking directly to them. So it kind of works twofold. One, those women who are going through those issues are going to feel so connected to you that by the time they call you, there is no consultation. They want you because you spoke to them so clearly. But secondly, there may be people so for example, I work with couples, but I get calls all the time for individuals, for children, and I don't speak to them at all in my copy. But because of the way that I wrote, maybe the fact that I talk about having a straightforward or direct approach, there was something that resonated with them that in all of these other profiles that said nothing but, I have this many years of experience. I do therapy. I went to this school. So all of a sudden, it's not so much about what I said. It's the fact that I said something different than everyone else. Like, I was a person. I was personable. I was relatable. So I want to ease that fear for you, but also validate it, because I know that a lot of therapists struggle with niching down, especially on their Psychology Today profile. So I can assure you that by doing that, you will not lose everybody else.
Okay. And one of my thoughts too, Allison, as a niche, is maybe you specialize. Like I can almost see like a woman having a child early on. So she actually has an adolescent. Maybe she's in a new relationship or a new marriage, and now she has a baby too.
Right,
so
right.
Postpartum, but she's dealing with the oppositional defiant teenager. And like, I could see how you could help both. And that's really a specific niche, right? It's not like, your kids are all similar in age, but you have a kid who is 16 and you have a baby. Like, oh my gosh, you didn't think your life was going to be this way. And now you're going through all those things. So I think Laura gave you lots of great stuff to think about. We'd love to ask you, like, what one action will you take today or in the next week or so to help improve your Psych Today profile?
I think I'm going to redo it and focus on specifically postpartum and kind of experiment with that.
Cool.
And don't be afraid to tweak it. Say you try it and you do that for, I would say give it a long enough time. Don't just do it for 5 days. But if you can create that profile and tweak it up, and then maybe 6 weeks later, you go, I haven't really gotten the kind of calls that I want, or I just want to test something else. So maybe I will write an entire new profile, take a screenshot of the current one, write a new one where I do just talk to that mother of the adolescent. And let's see how that goes.
Okay.
So Allison and Meri, we so wanted to thank you guys again for being on with us. And of course, our expert practice builder, Laura Long from South Carolina.
Thank you so much. This was really, really helpful.
Thank you, Allison. And thank you, Meri. Sorry. Thank you guys so much for your graciousness. I know that receiving feedback can sometimes be very nerve-wracking, and you guys were both so open-minded and received this beautifully. So thank you. It made my job a lot easier.
Well, you did it in a great way. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So thanks for Startup Nation for tuning in.
Yes, we had a blast, and this was just a unique experience today to have 2 members of Startup Nation and Laura Long giving awesome feedback so you guys could make your profiles more badass, right?
Yes, absolutely. They're already badasses. They just need the world to know it too.
Yes,
there you go.
Exactly. Startup Nation, we hope you enjoyed our podcast, found tons of valuable tips, tricks, and resources, and we want you to tune in to next week's podcast with Brad Pleiner from Therapy Notes. He talks about the 5 benefits of using cloud-based EMR software for private practices. So make sure you tune into that and check out our show notes from today's podcast for all of our tips, resources, giveaways, and links. And if you didn't hear the first podcast that we had with Laura, definitely go back and listen to that, because it really just sets you up for your practice profile success.
So thanks for letting us inspire you from startup to mastery. Have a great day, Startup Nation.
See you later.
Thanks for joining us on the Private Practice Startup. Visit theprivatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, free trainings, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and so much more.